reports Assad forces are pushing on with an assault amid widespread condemnation of an alleged chemical attack. Denying allegations, ousted Chinese political star Xilai appears in court on bribery charges. And a new poll suggests the Prime Minister could lose his seat, but Kevin Rudd fights on.
The people will decide, and I'm relaxed about that.
From SBS, this is World News Australia.
Good evening and welcome to the program. I'm Kathy Novak. There are reports tonight that President Bashar al-Assad's forces are pressing on with an offensive in Damascus, bombing suburbs where opponents say chemical weapons have killed more than 1,000 people. These are unverified pictures that have emerged showing shelling attacks near the city. The United Nations is demanding access to the site of what's alleged to be the deadliest gas attack in Syria's civil war. France says it will seek a reaction with force if the allegations of a massacre involving chemical weapons are confirmed. And a warning, the images in the following report are distressing.
The scenes are shocking. The dead lined up row upon row. Men and women, young and old. Boys and girls. Too many to fit into this makeshift morgue. Some of the bodies laid out in corridors. The distressing scenes overwhelming the cameraman and infuriating the Syrian opposition.
أيها العالم أوقف ذبح السوريين وخنق أولادهم بالغازات السامة. نحن لا نرجوك نطلب منك طلبا هو حقنا وهو واجب عليك.
The Syrian regime has denied responsibility for the attack. It says if chemical weapons were used, it was by the rebels, but it's a claim that is not cutting much ice with many experts.
This is very sophisticated weaponry. This is very sophisticated science. You can't sort of knock it up in your back room and deliver it. And I'm not aware that the rebels have that capability. So at the moment, until we know more, it is looking very much like it is a regime-delivered massacre.
A posting on a Syrian government news Facebook page appearing to contradict the official denials of involvement. It says what the heroes of the Syrian army did today in Wadamiyah, Jobar, Al-Kabun and even in Aleppo is a delicate, sudden and very powerful military operation. All kinds of weapons have been used. They killed many mercenaries in these areas and foiled their plans. The results have been fantastic. As the dead are buried and children are forced to farewell those who raised them, America must now decide if this single act is a game changer. Earlier this year, President Obama warned that a red line would be crossed if chemical weapons were to be used. For now, the US is simply demanding that UN weapons inspectors be given access to the area. They are currently just 15 minutes drive away. But so far, permission has been denied. Brian Thompson, World News Australia.
Xilai walked into court pensive, as well he might. Two hulking guards flanked his 6-foot frame, making him look smaller. But the once rising star of Chinese politics, touted as a potential leader, wasn't about to follow the script for political trials. As dozens gathered outside, offered support.
我支持他走的这个路线，共同富裕之路。波西来这个事件过去之后，中国政治走向是什么？是否民主？
The former Commerce Minister faces charges of bribery, corruption and trying to cover up his wife's murder of British businessman Neil Haywood in 2011. But far from confessing, as his wife Gu Xilai did last year to escape the death sentence, Bo went on the offensive. He denied accepting more than 1 million yuan, around $180,000 in bribes from a businessman, saying a previous confession was made against his will. The businessman, he said, was utterly corrupt and a liar. And while it was thought Bo's cooperation might earn his family's safety and well-being, both his wife and son have been named as recipients of bribes. Many see the trial as Bo's punishment for over-ambition and a Maoist streak. Like many observers, this human rights lawyer believes guilty is the only verdict.
最高层对于如何去给薄熙来定罪和量刑。
His demise seen as likely to consolidate President Xi Jinping's power.
The Maoist faction might become less powerful. This is a good thing for President Xi Jinping, who espouses a more moderate political line.
A court official later said the hearing had been conducted based on judicial openness, but only select observers were allowed into court and no foreign media. Raina Sarumpayat, World News, Australia.
Security has been increased outside the Cairo prison, where former Egyptian leader Hosni Mubarak has lived for the past 2 years in anticipation of his release. A topic which has dominated headlines and divided people.
البلد حالتها مش كويس والشعب نفسه متأزم. الوقت ده لو خرج مبارك أكيد هتحصل مشاكل جامدة وهتتفهم الأمور كلها غلط.
أنا مبسوطة جدا طبعا لأن احنا كنا عايشين في أمان عن دلوقتي. ناس بتتقتل وذنبها إيه الشباب دي اللي بتموت. احنا بنشوف التلفزيون بنبقى يعني قاعدين بنعيط.
A court ordered the 85-year-old's release while he awaits a retrial on charges of corruption and complicity related to the deaths of hundreds of people 2 years ago. That violent uprising led to the end of Mubarak's 30-year reign. Mubarak was initially convicted, but technicalities prompted an appeals court to order a new trial.
إخلاء سبيل مبارك أكبر غلط إن هو حصل في تاريخ المحاكم الدولية كلها والعالمية.
Mubarak's release comes after the July coup which ousted Mohamed Morsi as president and in the wake of the deadly violence here this month.
It's a slam in the face. It's a slam of the face of the nation and face of justice and respect.
But the former leader remains a popular figure to some people who are not only concerned about the violence, but also the international attention, including calls for the U.S. to suspend more than $1 billion in military aid.
Hosni Mubarak was well respected internationally. Egypt was respected. During Mubarak's time, no one dared to impose their opinion on Egypt or its government.
Once Mubarak is released, he will likely be placed under house arrest while awaiting trial. Greg Navarro, World News Australia.
Briefly to news around the world, and Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has been sworn in for another 5-year term despite continued charges of vote rigging. Mugabe pledged to observe, uphold and defend the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Thousands attended the inauguration, which some experts say was a way to legitimize another disputed election for the 89-year-old ruler. Britain says the results of the election were not credible without an independent investigation. The death toll in Malaysia has risen to 37 after a bus tumbled 70 meters into a ravine. At least 16 injured passengers are in a critical condition. 53 people were on board when the bus apparently lost control heading downhill about an hour outside of the capital, Kuala Lumpur. It's the country's worst ever road accident. And new audio tapes have been released of former U.S. President Richard Nixon in the hours after he addressed the nation as the Watergate scandal brewed in 1973. The secret recordings taped by Nixon himself show he had support from 2 future presidents.
For whatever it's worth, we're still behind you out here, and I wanted you to know that you're in our prayers. Hello? Hello? I really was proud of you, and my golly, I know it was tough, and I just wanted to tell you that. This is going to come through good, and I think okay, boy. A lot of people are rooting for you. All right, boy. Okay, sir. How good of you to call.
Nixon resigned 16 months later in disgrace. 700 hours of audio remain sealed for national security. Weather now, and a low south of Tasmania extends frontal cloud across southeast Australia. A strong ridge of high pressure covers most of the central continent, and a westerly flow is bringing patchy cloud to the bite. In the major centres, rain and showers in the north and southeast of the country, fine in Brisbane, Alice Springs and Perth. Across the Tasman, it's wet in Wellington, Apia and Tahiti, otherwise mostly fine weather. In Southeast Asia, thunder in Bangkok, showers in Denpasar and Kuala Lumpur, while Phnom Penh gets rain, cloud about everywhere else. Further north, fine in Beijing, cloud in Tokyo and Shanghai, rain for the other centres. Heading west, thunder, showers and drizzle in the Indian subcontinent, a fine day in all other centres. To Europe, rain in Moscow, cloudy in Berlin, otherwise mostly fine through the main cities of Europe. In Africa, fine across the top of the continent, cloudy in Johannesburg, rain or showers for the other main centers. In South America, cloudy skies for Santiago and Asunción, fog in Rio, rain, showers and drizzle elsewhere with thunder expected in Panama City. And for North America, thunder in Havana, rain or showers in Mexico City, Toronto and Washington, D.C. Lots of cloud in the other areas, but fine in Vancouver. A Russian military ship has caught beachgoers unaware, plowing into a crowded Baltic Sea shoreline. Sunbathers seemingly had no advance warning of the ship's approach to land, and it didn't slow as it reached the shore. Russia's defense ministry confirmed the incident, saying the ship and its crew had been carrying out a routine training exercise. A few were startled, but no one on the beach was harmed. That's the world this Thursday. Make sure to tune in to World News Australia on SBS Radio tomorrow at 6 a.m. Good night.